gone to Oxfordshire to attend a family wedding, so I had a really good time, and I hope everyone else had a good weekend too, and I hope everyone else is doing well. The weather has not been really good this whole day. Actually, it's been raining and been a bit miserable. So I hope to cheer you all up in this evening's show. So please do listen in and join us. We've got some really interesting topics today. We are going to be talking about hate crimes, as we're celebrating or we're acknowledging the Hate Crime Awareness Week this whole week. So we're going to be talking about hate crimes, about how you can report hate crimes, and generally about what is a hate crime really. And we're also going to be hearing from a hate crime victim, in a short while. And someone else, also another guest of ours, will be joining us, who's going to tell us different methods and ways people can report hate crimes and talk about hate crimes. So we're going to be talking all things hate crime in the first half of the show. And the second half of the show, we're talking about first-time buyers, house buyers. Now, buying a house is, really exciting. It's very important, very, special moment for anyone in anyone's life, because you save up and you go through all those challenges, and then finally you're a very proud house owner. But according to a new research, 40% of young adults, they're not able to afford a house even with a 10% deposit. So they're really struggling. So we're going to be talking about the struggles that first-time house owners go through. Why is it becoming so difficult for youngsters, especially between the ages of 25 and 35? Why is it so difficult for them to buy a house? We're going to be talking about housing and the struggles that people are going through to buy their first property. So we've got a really good show lined up for you. Please do join in, and you're most welcome to share your views on either the hate crimes and also about housing. Maybe you're a first-time buyer yourself, or maybe you're looking out, just started the process to buy a house, and maybe you're going through challenges, or maybe you can talk to us about hate crime. If you sadly have been a victim of hate crime, or anything about hate crime that you would like to share with our listeners, so please do join in, and you can share. You can call us on 01733 602 133, and you can also text us or WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. Let's start the show with a nasheed, and then do come back, and we have lots in store for you. Please keep listening to our show and join in the conversation.
أنت نور الله فجرا جئت بعد العسر يسرا ربنا أعلاك قدرا يا إمام الأنبياء أنت في الوجدان حي أنت للعينين ضي أنت عند الحوض ري أنت هاد وصفي يا حبيبي يا محمد يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك قلبي حبي خير رسل ربي من به أبصرت دربي يا شفيعي يا رسول الله أيها المختار فينا زادنا الحب حنينا جئتنا بالخير دينا يا ختام المرسلين يا حبيبي يا محمد يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and you're listening to Drive at 5. I'm Sharikha Ahmed, and like I said before we went into the Nasheed by Meher Zain, we were talking about our two topics for this evening. One is hate crime, because it's the Hate Crime Awareness Week this week. It's a National Hate Crime Awareness Week, so we're going to be talking about all things hate crime in the first half of the show. In the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about first-time house buyers. So our first guest this evening is Mr. Javed Khan, who is the head of community resilience and integration in the City Council, and he's joining us to talk to us about hate crimes. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes.
How would you describe hate crime for someone who's not very familiar with this?
Very good question. A very simple question. This is about perception. So if I feel that somebody is being racist to me because of my calling by name or whatever, that's very much the victim's perception is very important. So if you feel that that's the case, then there's something to report. That's a very simple way of reporting it, whether it's based on race, faith, gender, sexual orientation, disability, whatever. These are all what legally is called protective strands. So people have to be very careful, particularly when they are linking in with different communities here. There are often like cases where you see road traffic accidents and often end up in a dispute. But during that heat of dispute, these kind of remarks can easily be made. And those are the situations where that line is crossed. It can be crossed by anybody. So people need to know this is hate crime, this is hate incident, and people can report.
And it's not very easy to report these hate crimes. I'm saying it's not easy because sometimes people are not very confident, or they think it's a very sensitive issue, and how should they report it? So what are the options available for people of different communities to report a hate crime?
In fact, you have asked a very important question, probably the most important message I wanted to give today. But before we report how,
yes,
which is, I think, a lesser of the challenge, the bigger challenge is why.
Okay.
Because a lot of people think, why bother? That really needs to be overcome first. Well, if I'm passing by a street and somebody calls me and whatever, I'll say, well, just disregard it, I'll go away, kind of stuff. Because what is going to be done, if I report, I'll be maybe taking a lot of time to report to police 101 and then answer, and then maybe statement taking, or if I'm a taxi driver or whatever, it's costing me time. So the question I will be saying is, why bother? Now the reason that is important to understand is why bother is because police, and particularly police cases, they're dealt with based on statistics. So when we look at hate incidents or hate crimes in over a month, we're roughly talking about 30 reported cases in a month, one per day kind of a stuff. On average, sometimes they could be fluctuate a little bit up and down, but that's roughly what we're talking about. I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
I know Peterborough is a very peaceful and harmonious city, I must say that, compared to many other places. I live here for last decade or so now. I've never come across anything in whatever capacity in myself as a member of a community. So Peterborough is a very harmonious city. But having said that, there are incidents which happen. But it's very important that for people to report, because if they get reported, then they get captured, and then the captured means that this indicates if there is a problem in some particular trade, circumstances, and there will be actions which can be taken to prevent. Maybe not necessarily that particular person,
Yes.
but certainly those circumstances. So it's my first answer to your question is it's absolutely important to report, because if you don't report, then these things will continue to escalate or may continue to escalate.
Yes.
And then it comes into, and often the victim becomes the perpetrator, which what I mean to say is that next time if it is not me but somebody from a family going up, maybe somebody who is not in the best of the mood at the time, and he or she decides to take an action, and guess who becomes the perpetrator?
Yeah.
So we need to take action, and and then I can now answer your question about how to report. How to report is actually very, very convenient. If it is an emergency, the only thing I would suggest is, if it's emergency, is always 999. So it's not, we do not recommend wasting of 999, but I must start with the more serious violence case. I must say, in terms of the 30 cases I refer, I rarely see any violence type of cases reported. Otherwise, it would be very important. But so most of the time, it probably will be a 101,
Okay.
which is a report to police. But if you don't want to go to report to police directly, or 101 sometimes may have his own waiting time and other things, you can easily go to the website. You can go to the City Council website, type in hate crime, and you'll come to a page. It's coming to a page which actually gives you a green button to report hate incidents. It takes about 10 minutes, and it captures all the information. All that information goes directly to the police.
Okay.
So it's not just going to council, it's actually going to the police that you're saying. So it takes 10 time. What happened? You can report it on behalf of somebody. So it could be a family member coming back, this is what happened, and you want to report it. It could be your neighbor reporting, and you putting in. And some people say, well, not everybody has got website. Not everybody has got the time to do it. I don't know the IT. So what do we do? You can walk in to the Bay Art Center, the customer service is there. They have got walking center there, and there the people can actually take in writing in person. So there are more than one avenues for people to report, but it's absolutely important to report. And obviously there are councillors who are people's legitimate representatives. People can approach them, and they do a brilliant job in reflecting things to whether the police or the council. So there's more than adequate opportunities, but people must understand that it's absolutely important to report.
That's a very valid point you made, that until and unless you report these things, and until and unless people know this has happened, no one can help you or take any action. So that's a very valid point that you've made. In terms of integration, because, for example, Peterborough is such a diverse city. We have got so many communities, so many, ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds as well, so many people living together. And like you said, it is harmonious, it's quite peaceful in comparison to the other cities, but sometimes you do have these odd occasions where, some communities don't get along together, or you have these hate crime incidents. How do you think, as a city, or, as part of the city council, how do you think the council can help bring these communities together, which can have an impact on the numbers of hate crimes?
I think first factual information is we don't really have incidents of where we're community versus community. Okay, that's first thing we need to bust that myth, because there's a lot of people have been working over the last many years, and in terms of that, the relationships is between community to community, whether it's whatever community it is very good as a community. There will always be individual cases. There will always be individual cases. It could be relating to whatever background. It could be at night time. It could be, being very frank, alcohol related. It could be a dispute which has gone out. So it could be very individual. It's never a community versus community in Peterborough, touch wood. And there's a lot of work which has been done and continues to be done by all the people that I talk about. And it's also very much a community thing as well. The community is also a very nice, harmonious community. So in that context, what is being done, the important thing is contact and understanding, removing of misunderstandings. So things like what Radio Salaam does, This is brilliant. It's an opportunity to bring different communities together. You got people from very diverse faith background doing your programs here. You've got people from various different professional backgrounds coming in here. You got young people, you got women, you got people like yourself, professionals. So all that is important to bring that and remove those misunderstandings. Events like what certain mosques do, the mosque open days. You get all different kind of background coming in. People who at one time were perhaps very anti certain faith have come to the mosque and they have said, we have decided, we realize that it was a different things and we change, or so engagement allows people to change their perceptions, and it works both ways. Sometimes there could be problem even within different communities. We're not necessarily the victims all the time. I hate to say this, but that's the fact. There are some people who might actually take it the wrong way. We're dealing with sexual orientation, we're dealing with learning difficulties, we're dealing with race, faith, and all those things. And I think this is quite an important thing for all to understand. The more we engage with different diverse communities, that removes the misunderstanding. And our key emphasis in terms of promoting integration, in particular working in the city, as you know, Peterborough is one of the 5 cities participating in this pilot program. We're very lucky to be selected for that. That's it, because of the good foundation that is built in here and the role of the leadership in the city. When I say leadership, it's not just the political, it's also the civic, it's also the community leadership, that they're taking a very important step to actually take this step. So I think it's important that we continue to improve communications, understandings, more, for example, litter picking kind of activities, some of the activities which have taken place in the community. I know places like, well, I don't do advertisement for individuals, but I can't say, it will be doing not a service if I don't mention the work which has been done in Glaston area. You've got community groups who are actually been working very hard to do the flower beds. And that's a great example that they're not only doing in here, they're also going to some other places, and other places are coming in here and doing this work. This is what it means. So it doesn't mean it has to be done in a mosque. It could be done in a community, it can be done in a school, and it can be done with my neighbors, how I treat my neighbor.
Really good points that you've made, that and thank you for all those inputs that you've given us, and also pointing out that we don't have issues from one community to the other community like people think. So thank you very much for talking through this and suggesting where we can report these hate crimes. They're very helpful information, and I hope our listeners enjoyed and took note of all these things. I'll repeat that for you guys again. If you need to report a hate crime, you can always do that by calling 101. But if you think it's an emergency, absolute necessary, then you can call 999 to report to the police. Otherwise, you can also report it on the council websites. If you type hate crime, it takes you to the page where you can give in all the details and report a hate crime. And also, you can talk to your local councillor, and that could, even he or she could take you through and point you in the right direction. So there are a lot of ways to report a hate crime, but the most important thing is please do report a hate crime if you've been a victim of it. Because only if you report it, or only if you talk about it and communicate it, well, will people know about this, and only then will it be highlighted and something can be done. So most important thing is to report it, and we've just told you where all you can report it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Javed Khan. Really a pleasure, and I hope our listeners really took note of all the things you said.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for your listeners' time.
Thank you so much. That was Mr. Javed Khan from the City Council. He's the head of the Community Resilience and the Integration team, talking to us about hate crimes and where you can report it. I'm going to continue and finish the track that I paused earlier, and then we're going to be talking to another guest of ours who is a hate crime victim, and he's going to talk to us about his unfortunate experience.
أنت نور الله فجرا جئت بعد العسر يسرا ربنا أعلاك قدرا يا إمام الأنبياء أنت في الوجدان حي أنت للعينين ضي أنت عند الحوض ري أنت هاد وصفي يا حبيبي يا محمد يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك
Sorry to cut your track in the middle again, but our next guest he's joined us on the phone line, so I thought, he's been waiting for a while. So he's Brother Akhil, who's been a victim of hate crime, unfortunately, and he's joined us to talk to us about it. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sister. How are you?
I'm alright, alhamdulillah, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah.
So we're talking about hate crimes this evening.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you've been a victim of hate crime.
That's right, yeah. It was in 2016, the tail end, probably August, I think it was, in 2016. I was working in a local firm for about 10 years at the time. And I was working with my colleague at the time. My relationship with him was fine for the first few years. It then moved on. I mean, as things happened around the world, like terrorist attacks and so on and so forth, he would drop in a comment here and there, but nothing which was overtly racist or Islamophobic in its nature.
Okay.
And then there was this, there was the night, I recall quite vividly actually, when President Obama was in the Situation Room, I think it was, where he had his entourage around him, and when they had infiltrated a house in Pakistan, and they claimed to have killed Osama bin Laden. I recall this vividly because I remember going into work that evening, and me and this person and a couple of other colleagues were working in the evening, and the subject came up. I was quite mute about it. I was just working, and this person, just out of nowhere, really out of the blue, just said, if it was him, he wouldn't have shot him. He would have just strung him up and then burnt a copy of the Quran underneath his feet. And I, at that moment, I was so flabbergasted. What has this guy just said? And it took me, a good 4 or 5 minutes to digest what he had said. And then we went and had some words together. He apologized to me and said that he said it in jest, and he was having a bad day, and so on and so on. So we sort of, I accepted his apology, and we moved on. So, many years passed. I think it was a good 3 to 4 years actually had passed, and then along came Brexit. Yeah. And unfortunately, at the time, I don't know what happened, but it seems to have been something that's overtaken our country, unfortunately, where Brexit has given a license to the people who would ordinarily hide their feelings of hate towards other minorities or people who believe in different religions or anything that they don't believe in. So I recall, he was going around the office and asking people how they were going to be voting for Brexit, and obviously, I told him how I was going to vote, and he wasn't too happy about it. I'll say
Brother Akhil, I'm sorry, but we're just going to go into a break, and then we're going to catch up with you.
Sure,
Is that
sure.
okay? I'm sorry. Just stay on.
Okay.
Yes. Please just stay and come back to us. We're talking to Brother Akhil. Come back after this short break.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it." Sponsor a hifz offering with Penny Appeal for just 70 pence a day to teach them to recite the Holy Quran. Call 03000 11 11 11 or visit www.pennyappeal.org. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Feel like some great tasting chicken tonight? Great meal deals, wraps, burgers and sides. We've got it all at Chicken Palace. Call and collect at 302 Lincoln Road on 01733 702 447 or 8 Park Road on 01733 343750. Chicken Palace, open 11 a.m. till late.
This October sees the return of the Perkins Great Eastern Run in Peterborough, a half marathon and fun run. Run with Team Orange to take part with Penny Appeal and get active for a great cause. Walk, jog or run. Find out more and sign up today at pennyappeal.org/event/Great Eastern Run or call or message Harun Mota on 07714 249 215 or email at harun.mota@pennyappeal.org. The Great Eastern Run with Penny Appeal, Sunday 14th of October. Sign up today.
Had a car accident or an accident at work? Accident specialists are experts in no-win, no-fee accident claims. Leave the hassle to us. Our multilingual settlement experts will manage the entire claims process on your behalf, with nothing to pay up front. We provide services such as credit hire, taxi vehicles, recovery, storage and much more. For full details on our range of services and a free consultation, call us on 01733 555 774 or visit our office at 249 Lincoln Road opposite the NatWest Bank. Accident Specialists. Start your successful claim today.
Al Murad Tiles. With over 70 stores nationwide, we are now open in Peterborough. Up to 50% discount offers now on. Largest selection of tiles. Full bathroom suites from only £189. Paint, LED lighting, laminate flooring from only £7.99. Over 1,000 designs of wallpaper in stock. We have everything you need. Come and visit us at 193 Fengate, Peterborough, PE1 5BH or call us on 01733 34 58 47. Al Murad Tiles, now open.
Need a great place to chill out? Look no further than The Lounge for quality food and drinks at a great price. Try our varied menu: pasta, seafood, burgers, grills, salad, soup, rice and sides. Also hot and cold drinks, milkshakes and mocktails. Leave room for our exquisite desserts. The Lounge, 417 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call 01733 709 306 to order for delivery. The Lounge, friendly service with a great atmosphere.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah. Subhanallah.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salaam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back after the short break. We were talking to Brother Akhil about hate crimes. He's unfortunately a victim of hate crimes, and before we spoke to him, we heard from Javed Khan from the City Council, who told us about the different methods and places that you can report a hate crime, and he emphasized on how important it is to absolutely report a hate crime. So even if it's a small thing, or if you think it's not that serious, but you should report it, because only if you, as many times this is reported, it's better in terms of they have a record that okay, it's been reported 5 times or 6 times from this area, so maybe they start taking note, and once you communicate or you highlight these things, only then someone can help you out. So always report a hate crime, no matter how big or small it is. Now we're going to be talking to Brother Akhil, who's who's talking to us about his experience. Brother Akhil, Assalamu alaikum once again.
Walaikum Salaam.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's okay. I just want to say you're absolutely right. If we don't report the hate crimes, the police and the government is going to think that it's a low-level crime when it really isn't a low-level crime.
Yes.
For sure.
We were talking about your experience. Can you quickly recap what you said before we went in the break and then continue from where we left?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I was working with this chap for almost 10 years. We had no cause for concern in our relationship up until Osama bin Laden was killed. And he was working with me and a few colleagues, and he said that if it was up to him, he would tie up bin Laden and burn a copy of the Quran underneath his feet. Obviously, from that point forward, we had a discussion. He apologized. He said it in jest and he didn't mean it. So we moved on from there, and nothing surfaced up until 2016 when Brexit happened. And then, unfortunately, his demeanour had changed quite a lot when Brexit happened. He was provoking people, trying to find out which way they were going to vote and so on. So it was something that I wasn't really partaking in whilst working with him. And then one day, towards the end of August, I just want to say for the record as well, I never gave him any of my personal social media information. So I was quite surprised with what I'm going to describe to you next. I was at home. I received a notification from Twitter to say someone interacted with my profile. I had a look, and to my amazement, it was him, my ex-colleague, and he had interacted with my profile. And by doing so, when I clicked onto his profile, and what I found was something, is truly, it's so difficult to fathom, that someone who you've known for over 10 years would be posting such vile, hateful messages about Islam, about Asian people, about black people. It was disgusting. It was so bad. It was abhorrent. It took me by surprise. I still recall, I had a chill down my spine, and as I started going through his profile, it was every single tweet seemed to be getting worse and worse and worse. There was images of the Quran being burned. There was just so much. I mean, the most offensive images of the Islamic religion, as you can probably imagine. And so at the time, I didn't know what to do. So I took a little step back. I thought, okay, what can I do next? So I phoned one of my colleagues and said, look, this is what's happened. I was able to then just unload to him what happened. And then immediately when I finished that call with him, I called the police. I had a good, half an hour conversation with a police operator on the phone. And then she managed to book an appointment with me and a police officer at Thorwood Police Station the following day. Okay. When that call finished, what I actually did was I went through his whole profile and scoured any other elements of the internet where I could find his presence, and I took screenshots. So the following morning, I went to Thorwood Police Station with 76 different screenshots of very, very, really explicitly offensive material based on religion, based on race. So I'll be honest with you, I had done the police's job for them. So to that end, actually, when I had my interview with the police, which was about 90 minutes long, you could see that the police officer was aghast. Like, oh my God, what am I looking at here? He couldn't believe what he was seeing, and at the same time saying, so this guy actually worked with you. And I was like, yeah, it was really bad, because it wasn't just on Twitter that he had all these things. He'd actually gone onto the Peterborough Evening Telegraph website. And he was writing all these negative things about foreign people in Peterborough, and also on his Facebook page. So I passed all this information to the police officer, and was essentially told to just not to interact with him, and that they would look into it. However, this was over a weekend, and on the Monday I'd informed my employer, who then approached him about it, and he was duly suspended from his role for the best part of a month while the police were investigating. Now, when the police started investigating, they spoke to him, he admitted it, and then they asked him to delete all the images and everything he had posted, and also he was banned from communicating with me. And everything seemed to be okay for the next 3 to 4 weeks, while it was still, while the prosecution was gathering more evidence. Okay. And about a month later, he started posting again more and more offensive material, which was passed to the police again. And then in December 2016, he was taken to court, charged with a racially aggravated hate crime, and then he was sentenced to 8 weeks in prison for all of the information, all of the offensive matter that he had posted online. So it was a good result in the end. But I have to say to you, as a victim of a hate crime, it's deeply disturbing. Someone's attacked your faith, someone's attacked you on the basis of your religion, or your colleagues, or your fellow countrymen, whoever it may be. It's hard to describe unless you go through it. But I mean, it's an attack on your way of life.
It sounds really disturbing, all that you've described, and what you just said, it's so true. Until you've experienced it, you cannot comment on a hate crime. You don't know what people go through unless you've experienced it personally. Hate crime.
That's right.
So
I think it's also important to note as well. I mean, even though I'm talking about this from a race and a religious point of view, I mean, hate crime can be anything from a disabled person being mocked, or someone who has a physical or mental disability, or someone's sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. It's the person who's been affected. And you don't know until, like you just said, you don't know until you go through it. It's difficult to deal with, because especially if it's from someone you've known for such a long time, it kind of hurts more. If that makes sense.
It takes you by shock, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going down the street, in the city centre, and somebody calls you something, although you'd find it offensive and it will trouble you for a while, but it's still from a stranger. But when you've built up a rapport with somebody, then it's more hurtful, it's more personal, because that person knows you well. And they would have, how long has that person been thinking about this? Why have they only just said it to you now, And I find what's happened since Brexit, and I tell you something, the stats are horrifying since Brexit. I mean, it's like 50%, 57% increase in hate crime since Brexit. And I tell you what, when Brexit actually happens next year, I think we're going to see another spike in hate crime, where people think it's okay to just go and attack people on trains, tubes, bus stations, in city centres, where you hear of people, being attacked, women, having their hijabs pulled off, or, and so on and so forth. It's almost given a license to to people who think, that Brexit was a decision has given them the ability, actually, to say and do what they feel like. And unfortunately, we don't live in that society. There are rules and regulations that we all have to abide by.
Absolutely. We hope, it doesn't get to that situation, and, we really hope so. And we're really sorry about what happened with you, and you've been a victim, and, we hope nothing like this happens to anyone from any community or any race, irrespective of all that, because hate crime is bad, irrespective of how small or big it is. And, so I think you should report a hate crime, and remember on this day that spread love, not hate, because we need to live together in one society. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think the other thing to add here as well is, obviously, my hate crime was online. So if you suffer from a hate crime online, what I would certainly suggest is certainly to screenshot what you've received. So you're essentially giving the evidence to whoever you're going to report it to. Whereas if you're in the street and someone says something to you, or you're being attacked, I would certainly suggest trying to film what's happening around you. If you can, but if you can't, the safety is paramount if it's a physical situation that you're involved in. Unfortunately, sister, what I have to say is we are living in a society now at the moment where hate crimes and the acceptability of hate crime seems to be quite prevalent. I mean, Saeed Awasi famously said, Islamophobia has passed the dinner table test. And you see that. We see with our politicians and other people representing us who are allowing these things to just fly by and it's unacceptable, and you're seeing it around the world as well. I mean, you only have to see across the pond what's going on. So I think education is really, really important, and unity, having community events and seeing, like Joe Cox said, we've got more in common that divides us. So I think it's a community effort that we need to look after ourselves and our neighbours, and wherever we see this, we need to call this out for what it is, and not be afraid of speaking out and standing up for our beliefs and our morals.
Absolutely. That was what you just said is really, really useful, and I hope our listeners are, they're listening to you, and understanding how important this is and how serious this is. So we need to work together as a community and embrace each other really, and live together harmoniously. Thank you very much, Brother Akhil, for joining us today and talking
You're
through
welcome.
your unfortunate experience. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Salaam.
Jazakallah. That was Brother Akhil talking to us about his unfortunate experience of hate crime. Like we said, you need to report a hate crime no matter how small or big it is. And I mentioned earlier, but I'll repeat it for you now just quickly. You can do so by calling 101 if it's not very serious, but if you think it's an emergency and it absolutely needs to be, you need some help immediately, then you can do so by calling 999 to the police. You can also go to the council website where they have a hate crime reporting page and just put in all the details. That should take you less than 10 minutes to do so. And you can also speak to your local councillor. But if you're someone who's not very familiar with the internet, or you do not have access to the internet, then you can report this hate crime incident by just simply walking to the Bayat Palace and talking to someone there, and they'll be more than happy to help you. But do so and do it in a timely manner. Do report your hate crime in a timely manner. And more you talk about it and more you communicate about this, the more you can help to reduce it. You can give us your views on this by calling the studio on 01733 602 133. We look forward to hearing your views about hate crimes. It's 5:40 now in the studio clock. Well, it's just gone 5:40, and now we're just going to be going to our second topic for the day. It's about housing. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the Institute of Fiscal Studies, they're saying that the prices, the house prices in England and Wales have gone up by 173% in the last 2 decades. And they say that 40% of young adults, they're not able to afford a house, even with the cheapest house in their local area with a 10% deposit. That is proving to be difficult, and that's according to a new survey that's come out. Also, another reason for this, for people not able to afford these houses is because the rents have gone up so high. It's reduced the purchasing power of these youngsters, so they're not able to save up enough deposit in a good time, because the rent is taking up so much of money, and that has also gone up. The average rent per week has gone up from 140 to 200 pounds a week. And obviously that's making it harder for people to save up these deposits. We've got Brother Qasim here with us in the studio, who is, mashallah, first-time buyer now. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Qasim.
Yeah, walaikum salam, Sister Sharika.
And, mashallah, you're a proud homeowner now.
Yeah, I received my keys to my house last Friday. So I'm a first-time buyer. And I purchased my house at the age of 26.
MashaAllah, that's really good. I mean, we were just talking about how it's becoming increasingly difficult for youngsters in the age bracket of 25 to 35 to, buy their first house because of so many, the rents have gone high, the prices have gone up. And obviously the income is not growing up as much as the other prices. So the purchasing power is, it's reducing. So, did you feel it was challenging to buy your first house?
Yeah, it's quite challenging. It's always challenging when you're, taking on something new. But definitely, I have to agree with you, sister. It was very challenging, challenging buying my first house. You've got the house prices are they're always increasing. So yeah, it is a tough time. You've got other things involved. You've got to pay your bills, you've got to pay your rent. I purchased a car about a few months before I was about to buy my house. So yeah, it was very challenging, to be honest. And I think the main thing is that there's not enough support out there for first-time buyers, which I found. It was very tough for me, and it took me the best parts of between 4 and 5 years to save up for my deposit.
That's a really long time.
Yeah, definitely. I had a few jobs in between, but there was a it is it was very tough, to be honest. And like I said, there's not enough guidance out there for first-time buyers to buy a house. So yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a roller coaster ride, but we made it. So last week I received the keys to my house, so I'm, proudly homeowner.
Mashallah, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And do you think this is becoming, sadly, it's a trend that you're noticing in youngsters, maybe in your social circle of friends or family of similar age groups? Do you think this is sadly becoming, quite common? People are struggling to buy their first house. You are seeing it, more often now than maybe it was. This situation probably didn't exist maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but it's becoming increasingly difficult now.
Yeah, definitely. I spoke to a few other people who are like first-time buyers. So, I took some information from, what they were telling me. I took some information from different people. So I went to the bank, I went to an independent advisor. So, I did find that there was a lot of people in the same boat as me, as first-time buyers. And they were telling me the same things as, what I experienced. So yeah, definitely there was a lot of people in the same boat, which faced the same challenges as I was. So the best thing I done was I went out there to get the advice, the help. Like I said before, there wasn't any kind of advice or like a go center or a workshop, for first-time buyers. So it's just about you going out there as an individual and go and get that information, the help, do some research. So yeah, I think that's that was the hardest bit.
Do you've got your house now, first house, but like you said, people were struggling, you were struggling. What do you think you need? Do you think, because you mentioned about lack of facilities or lack of centers where people can get advice, so as a first time house owner, you've gone through all these experiences, what do you think can help the others who are aspiring to buy a house, or any tips that you want to share with them that might make their journey easier?
So I think you need to first think about the price, the price of the house. What's your budget? You've got to put that in your mind first, and then you've got to go from there. You've got to think about the budget. You've got to think about the breakdown of how much you earn, how much bills, what you're paying on your bills, how much your outgoings are first, and then I think you need to take a realistic figure from there. And then you need to think about there are different ways of getting onto the property ladder. For example, there's help to buy ISA, there's a right to buy, there's shared ownership. There's different ways of how you can get on the property ladder. So I took help to buy ISA. That's the route that I took, which was it helped me out to pay for like solicitor fees, etc. So I put in an X amount of money into my savings account.
Okay.
So I built that balance up.
Do you do that every month? Can you
explain
this?
So so basically you can put in between, minimum is £50 a month.
Okay.
And then the highest you could put is £200 a month.
Okay.
So I used to put in an X amount of money per month. And then that kind of gradually built up a bank balance. So once that built up, when I went to see the property that I want to purchase, so I went to the bank and I said to them, look, I need a statement for this savings account. So they gave me a closing statement, and I gave that to my solicitors, and the government gave me X amount of money to help me pay towards like solicitors fees, etc., which I thought was really helpful, to be honest. They are like I said, there are different avenues of purchasing your house, but it all comes down to how much you want to spend. I went to view properties which were, I don't know, I think it was £200,000, and I was like, I was coming back home and I was just thinking to myself, realistically, can I afford this? I think that you need to, before you make a move in purchasing a house, you need to sit down, you need to work out how much you can afford, and I think, then you can go from there.
Well, it's obviously quite difficult. You're looking at the way you mentioned about the way you struggled, and I know of other people as well who are trying to get onto the housing ladder, and some of them are in their 30s, in fact, and they're still struggling. So this is a growing concern of how youngsters are not able to get on to the housing ladder, and the statistics are showing the same as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like before the show, I was speaking to yourself. So I started the process back in February time.
Okay.
So it's taken me quite a few months purchasing the first property. I went to view a lot of properties. It was the case of there's like other people who were interested in the property as well, and it was just the fact of who's the highest bidder basically on the property. That's from my experience. So it was like it's a bit of a roller coaster, to be honest. I came back a few times and I was disappointed, and I was like, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do now? You put your heart into a property and you say, I'm going to buy that, I want to buy that. But when they turn around and say, look, sorry, this has been sold, it's really like kind of heartbreaking. But alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, God gave me the opportunity. So this property came onto the market first. I did bid for it and it was taken off the market. And then a few months down the line, this property came back on the market, and then I just took the opportunity, and God's given me the opportunity, so I'm very blessed to have that.
Well, congratulations once again, and we hope you enjoy lots of happiness in your new house.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. That was Brother Qasim, who's a proud house owner now, and like we were talking about this earlier, we're talking about first-time house owners and how difficult it's becoming for youngsters, especially in the age group of 25 to 35, to buy their first property. And research is saying that 40%, that's a really good, that's a really high number actually, 40% of adults, they're not able to afford their first house, but even despite having 10% deposit in the area they want to live in their local area. So that is quite a high number, unfortunately. And a lot of factors are affecting this. The incomes haven't grown so much in the last few years. The rents have gone really high. A lot of other expenditures as well. So that's stopping these youngsters from getting onto the house ladder. You can share with us about maybe your experience when you first bought a house. How was it? What were the challenges you faced? Or maybe you're looking into buying your first property soon. What are you looking into? What are the different schemes that you're aware of that you're looking into? If you want to share with our listeners, you can do so by calling us on 01733 602 133. You can also text us or WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. We would love to hear from you, your experience of buying your first house. How is it, or what is it that, you're facing in terms of challenges and struggles? Do give us a call. And we also spoke about hate crimes earlier, and we spoke about how important it is to report a hate crime, and we discussed the various methods or options available for you to, report a hate crime. We had Javed Khan earlier from the community, from the City Council, who is the head of Community Resilience and Integration, and he spoke in quite a good length about different methods available for people to report a hate crime. And he explained about the situation in Peterborough, which seems to be pretty good actually. Quite a few problems in terms of hate crimes or incidences that he spoke about. And then unfortunately we heard from a victim of hate crime who shared his experience and how it was very difficult time for him. And like he said, it was someone who he knew for so long. He had committed the hate crime, and that was the most shocking part. So, anything that you want to share with us, do give us a call. You still have, a minute or two. I know not a lot of time, but still, you can give us a call on 01733 602 133. So, I think I had a good show this evening. We spoke about two really good topics. But I would like to take your feedback on board. I would like to know if there's anything particular you would like to talk about or discuss on this show, you would like me to discuss on this show. So I would really like to hear from you and your views and your feedback, because ultimately we're putting the show up for you all, and we would love to communicate with you. You can share your thoughts and ideas on Facebook, on the Salaam Radio page, and it's wonderful to really be on this presenter chair and talk to you people. I had a lovely show this evening, and I look forward to coming back to you next week. Thank you so much for listening. Keep listening to Salaam Radio. Allah Hafiz. Do take care of yourself.